First of all, thank you to David Duguay and the team that put that together. I think it was exceedingly well done, so I hope you found it of value as well. It's kind of a different way to do it, perhaps a little better than we've done in the past. For those who've been around a long time, and that would constitute a handful of you, this is Palm Sunday 29. I'm with you all, believe it or not. So you know, if you've been around for any of those 29, my customary is not to preach a sermon on Palm Sunday. I think the liturgy is the sermon. But I do want to give you a couple of directives about Holy Week and then move on to the Mass. So, and one image. So an image, a directive, and the image I want you to take as you leave today is not the palms. The palms are great, and we get caught up in the palms, and we're going to give them out. We're going to do drive-through palms as we do every year, and try not to get run over on Van Dyke Road during the course of the day. And we get a pretty good response, not as great a response as we get as on Ash Wednesday. So we hope you'll take the palms home with you extra and give them to people who couldn't find their way to any church, let alone this church. So please take palm, use it as an instrument of evangelism, and say, please be mindful of the King of Kings. That's all you have to say. Please be mindful this week of the King of Kings. Jesus came into Jerusalem, as we know in the story, on a donkey or a colt. And it's only 2 times that we hear of Jesus' relationship with a donkey. What's the other time? When Mary and Joseph were on their way to Bethlehem. And so it's interesting that imagery is at the beginning of his life, or soon to be the beginning of his life, and the end, and what's going to be the end of his life. And we think of colts and donkeys as kind of, these kind of farm animals that are stubborn and, kind of workhorses and not very attractive. But it's interesting that donkeys at the time of Christ, in the biblical times, they were considered for royalty. And when a royal came in on a donkey, it was a sign that the king was going to rule with humility. So it was a statement about what the king was going to be about. I'd like you to think about, what statement are you going to make this week about Holy Week? What are you going to be about? What statement do you want to make about your faith this week? We could just start on today and end next Sunday and leave out the rest of the week, as many will do. I was reading, I think my wife, she endures so much, but I end up reading these things at night. And so last night I uncovered a fact that only 33% of the population who are Christian observe Lent and Holy Week. Who are Christian, not non-Christian. Only 33% of all Christians observe Lent and Holy Week. It's a pretty low bar when you're considering that the numbers are declining anyway. So in view of that, my question for you is, what image do you want to purport this week for Holy Week to your friends, to your family, to the people you work with, to the people in your neighborhood? Jesus came into Jerusalem humbly on a donkey. You're going to go through this week as Jesus went through this week. How are you going to go through this week? Is it going to be with humility? Is it going to be with grace? Is it going to be very mindful of what the vocation is? He knew full well that Calvary was in the distance, but he wasn't deterred. He wasn't put off by any of the criticism. He wasn't put off by any of the commentary, whether it be from the Pharisees, Pilate, Herod, etc. And so, will you allow the comments and the critique of a culture that doesn't buy into what this week is about, will you allow that to prevent you from making your way on the donkey to Jerusalem? So that's the image I'd like you to take with you. Thirdly, and just as a clarification, because someone brought it to my attention before we started, the hangings, the liturgical vestiture. It's called Lenten array, and we've had it before. These are new. We haven't had this design before, but we've had it. You might remember had these spikes and crown of thorns, and it was kind of busy, so we tried to simplify it this year. If you're not sure what the symbolism is about, and some churches, especially those in the Anglican tradition, use Lenten array for the whole season of Lent throughout Holy Week. Because most of us in this country are not familiar with it, we only use it during Holy Week, but we may switch at some point from the purple. So this, like this vestment, is unbleached linen, and as is on the altar and on all the stoles. Everybody's got unbleached linen on. And why is that important this week? Jesus was wrapped in a cloth of unbleached linen. The crimson is the blood of Christ shed for us. And so we see it on the cross, on the banners, and we see it here. So, and of course, it's coming down in a strip, so it's dripping, the dripping blood of Christ shed for us. Okay? And in some of these designs are very ornate. I was at Westminster, was it Westminster? Yeah, Westminster a couple of weeks ago, and they had, on the whole reredos all the way up to the top, they had a full Lenten array. I've never seen anything quite like it, because they have a few more dollars than we do, so it might have something to do with it. But it was very impressive, that idea of the blood coming down from the very top of the high altar down to the bottom. And then the black, you know what that's about, right? It's our sinfulness. So the blood is shed for our sinfulness by the one Lamb of God wrapped in a linen. And so that's the symbolism this week. So you've got a couple images to take with you. You've got the Lenten array, you've got the palms, and you've got the donkey. And all should be motivating you, I hope and pray, that as you exit the door today and go out to the highways and byways, that you do so waving your palm, if not in fact, in spirit, that you enter every house you see, every place you go this week, you go as if you were riding on a donkey in humility and bring the presence of Christ. And then lastly, to celebrate the liturgy of the church all week, mindful of Holy Monday, Holy Tuesday, Spy Wednesday. Spy Wednesday, we're doing something different this year. We haven't ever done it before. We're doing Tenebrae, an ancient monastic service of the church. And we used to do, of course, the Gospel of Judas. Judas is long retired, thanks be to God. And we've tried a penance service for a couple of times, and that's not really in the Anglican customary, so I know people think, well, you like doing that, but we don't really think much of it. So we're going to do Tenebrae, kind of multimedia like we had today. And I think you'll find it a good way to get ready for the Triduum. And then the Sacred Triduum, Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday. The vigil starts at 11 o'clock, so the sign up for each hour to keep watch throughout the vigil is in the newsletter that you got in the email. So just click the box for the time, and that automatically registers you. I know you don't see how that happens, but it does come to us saying that Peggy Rhoda Bush clicked at 3 a.m. in the morning, and you don't have to put your name in it. It's magic. The computer knows. So we know it's you, and we'll be here throughout the night. If you've never been for the Easter Vigil throughout the night, it's really simple. The liturgy of the Easter Vigil consists of 7 lessons. And so we do each of the lessons for 1 hour. So we read the lesson. It has a psalm. It has a collect. It has a piece of music attached to it. And it has, we do a little homily. And it fulfills that spirit of what Jesus says, can you not pray with me, but yet 1 hour? And so we do that, and we've been doing it this way for 20 years. And it's the way the Easter Vigil is supposed to be done. It was interesting the other day, we were talking to the Coptic Orthodox, trying to see if our schedules were going to conflict, because we actually do celebrate Easter on the same calendar this year. And they were utterly surprised that we had the Easter Vigil like they do, or I'd like to say they have the Easter Vigil like we do. I'm not sure which came first, but the point is that because so much of what we do in the church gets truncated for convenience. And of course, we don't do it that way. So that all through the night, and then We light the holy fire at about 6:40 a.m. Sunrise is about 7 this year. We light the holy fire. We sing the Exultet. We make the great Easter proclamation. Hopefully, if we time it right, just as the sun rises, and then we have what's called the Mass at dawn, the first Mass at dawn. And we'll have a nice brunch breakfast after that. So that's the culmination of everything that happens this week. That's the culmination of really what goes on in this symbolism right here. It's the culmination of the waving of the palm. It's the culmination of the riding on the donkey. In short, it's the culmination of our faith. And we now stand for the creed.